and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. Mississippi, a state that's sweltering with injustice, as Martin Luther King said from his I Have a Dream speech, that he hoped and prayed that one day that little boys and girls would be measured by not the color of their skins, but they could live together in peace and harmony. Well, in Mississippi, we're still struggling with that. No peace, no harmony has been achieved as of yet. And so we are coming live to you with this program to try to enlighten our audience and our viewers all over the world that there are many things that we yet have to do to make America the place that it ought to be, the dream land for all of its citizens. Blacks and whites can live together and work together and experience and share the same quality of life. That's all we really want. We want to be, as James Meredith said, full first-class citizens. And he said that if you were a full first-class citizen, you wouldn't need the 14th Amendment. You wouldn't need all of these things that's guaranteed to give you the opportunity to vote and the opportunity to be heard. You wouldn't need that if you were just simply a full first-class citizen. Let's rewrite the Constitution. My co-host, Dr. Henderson, says that African Americans were 3/5 of a person. And so let's just rewrite the Constitution. Let's rewrite the Constitution of the U.S. and rewrite the Constitution of Mississippi. You know, it's time that we put in writing what we say we believe in and what this country stands for. It's time we do that. It's time that we acknowledge that some form of reparations is in order and due to African Americans for the contributions that they made and from the labor and the sweat and the tears that they shared building this great country. There has to be a day of reckoning. That day has to come soon, and we have to get on one accord as brothers and sisters. Now, time is running out. You know, Dr. Henderson says that we only have 10 years, I think he's down to 7 years now, before African Americans will be relegated to positions of total insignificance. He says that often on his Thursday night show that you can hear on WMPR radio station. He often goes about talking about, you know, the demise and the decline of African Americans in this great country. I think he says we're number 7th now, as opposed to being number 1. And when he comes on in a few moments, we'll let him explain to you how that hierarchy is working today. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to go ahead on and share this program with your friends and family. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to our program. We're trying to get our subscribers up. We need your help to do that. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, our very own platform, a very unique platform, then we want you to share this program and we want you to hit the donate button. Put your money where your mouth is. If you believe in the work that we're doing, then help sponsor this program. If you want to call into this show, call 800-492-5186. If you want to have your own podcast show, if you want to be a person that gets the word out about what's going on in our country, we want you to come in and have your own show. You can advertise with us at just $10 a spot for a 30-second commercial that will be seen all over the world. There's plenty of opportunity for us to network and come together and demonstrate that blacks can come together and can help create and can help build something of importance. We need your help here at We Believe Digital. Not only do we have the broadcast studio, we also have the internet radio station. 24 hours a day, some of the best gospel music you ever wanted to hear. We also have under our umbrella Prime Stone Media, one of the best filming companies in the whole Southeast, with Drika Chiffon doing great work over there, doing documentaries and movies. She's in this office and part of our team. We also have Kelvin Jones over 16 Bars, 16 Bar Studio, 18, 20 years old, has combined with We Believe Digital to be able to provide recording options for all of our clients. We also have under this umbrella in this same building the Mississippi Link newspaper, some 29 years of continuous publication, every week for 29 years, not ever having missed 1 week in publication. We send a shout out to the publisher and co-owner of the Mississippi Link, Jackie Hampton, who serves on the board of the National Newspaper Association. You know, the road has not been easy to get there. There were some difficult days in our past, and there will be some difficult days in our future. But one thing that we know, that we continue to strive, we continue to fight the good fight, we continue to make things work against insurmountable odds. And what would be insurmountable odds? If you are African American and you are residing in the state of Mississippi, which means you're residing in the poorest state in the nation, if you're African American and in the poorest state in the nation, your climb, your path forward is going to be more difficult. Just face the facts. But don't fear the facts. Face the facts. You can't fear them because our ancestors did not fear them. Our ancestors went on to accomplish great things to move this country forward. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs and powerful influencing people have come out of the state of Mississippi. Some of the greatest entertainers of all time have come out of the state of Mississippi. And when I think of that, I'm reminded of Sam Cooke right here from Mississippi in the Mississippi Delta. When I think of entrepreneurs, I think of John Johnson, who started the Jet magazine right out of Laura, Mississippi. When I think of Radio One and TV One that's doing well out there from Kathy Hughes, I think about her grandfather, Lawrence Jones, who built Piney Woods Country Life School, started out with just a log. And he said, if you give me a log in the middle, a student on one end and a book and a teacher on the other, you have a university. He believed in that, and he made great things happen, and we're so proud of that. So because it's tough, because it's hard, there's no reason to run from it. Our history has always been tough and hard, and we've always overcome and achieved. So if you're watching this program on all of the mediums that I have just talked about, do the things that I asked you to do. We're being seen in over 139 countries all over the world, and our network is growing every day. Advertising opportunities are here like in no other place. We are, in fact, a media company. We Believe Media. We're going to start to brand that name, but if you are General Motors or Nissan or Ford and you want to sell your products for goods and services, allow us to put that ad in our network. And our network consists of all of the things that I just named, the venues that I just named. Nowhere else can you find recording studio, movie film production, newspaper print, broadcast, internet radio, terrestrial radio, all under one umbrella. Nowhere can you find that. So if you're out there and you want to be elected to a national position like Tim Scott, Brother Scott, who has decided that he is running for president of the United States of America. Tim, we believe media will support that activity if you engage us when others have not. We have to put our personal pleasures and desires second to the economic interests of those entities that we believe can do more good if we grow them and they have greater influence, then we can deal with the issues. But it's going to take some money. And so reaching out to Tim Scott is no different than the NAACP, who reached out to white folk when it was first started and continued to serve on their boards. No different than Tougaloo College, who is a mentor protege program with Millsaps College. No difference than those things. So we're going to have to look at how we do things, and we're going to have to start doing things a little bit differently because the strategies that we have today are not working. Now, I'm going to turn to my co-host, Dr. Eldridge Henderson. Doc, it's always good to have you in the studio. Good to see you back.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm proud to be here, sir, and I'm most certainly very proud to be connected with We Believe Media. You have a great institution here, and the last time I counted, you had about 7 different media entities going on at the same time, and I've been told by some of your staff that shortly you will have so many professionals up in here, you'll be competing very securely internationally without a doubt. And I was told that it's probably going to be 6 to 9 months before you're so strong. Tim Scott and even the front runner for the Republican Party will probably be giving you some support, because we know that sooner or later black people are going to start getting smart, and people throughout the world are going to be surprised at how many black people start openly saying they are going to vote for Republicans. So you are really on point, ahead of others, and not afraid to say so.
Well, thank you, Doc. We cannot be afraid. Our ancestors were not afraid. When we look at the Selma, the March on Selma, when we look at the dogs and the fire hoses and the whips and the beat downs, we have no right to be afraid. Others have given too much for us to be afraid. And so we must speak power to truth and truth to power. We must then bring real common sense philosophies into the conversation. I'm not abandoning in any way my loyalty and my support for those individuals who believe that America can do a better job in supporting those that have been disenfranchised. Now, I don't care if you're black, white, green, or red, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Freedom Party, it does not matter. What we have to do now, and this is what you're talking about, we got to forge new relationships. We got to build our own team based upon those that have similar interests. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. That's the only way to do it. Pooling resources, using what we call collective positive wisdom, getting away from the past that shows that it has been a failure. Do something and look for the new man, new ideas, progressive ideas. And economically and politically, black folks will rise to the position on the totem pole that they need to be on.
Well, Doc, let's jump right into some things. We are certainly in a season where we're losing a lot of great people. We lost Tina Turner. Now, I've called some friends of mine that spent some time at Tina's Addie Mae's house and have some real interesting stories about Tina Turner. Was she a big fan of yours?
Well, she was one of them, of course. Yeah, I didn't learn how to dance to her music until I think I was probably about 25, but man, when I learned to dance to her music, I thought she was one of the greatest singers around. And matter of fact, especially when she was with her old husband.
Okay.
They were tough. They had a little group behind them. They were shaking and singing and dancing, and she would pop out front and do her thing with that gross voice that she had. She was strong, and then she left him and got bigger.
Oh, the Riverboat Queen,
Oh,
Proud
yeah.
Mary keeps on turning.
That's right.
Now, you say her old husband. Are you referring to Ike Turner?
Yeah, Ike Turner.
Ike was a great man.
He was a great man, great
But I
musician.
understand he was a hard man.
Hard. He was hard. He wanted to have things the Ike way. It had to be his way. He made, allegedly, all the decisions, and his singers, dancers, and band members had to do just like he told them to do, or he would get on them in a very punitive manner.
Well, now let's face it. Would there be a Tina Turner with Ike?
No.
Without Ike?
It would not be her. Wouldn't be.
Wouldn't be.
It wouldn't be. She wouldn't been able to survive and do what she did without that early hard training with her previous husband.
Wow.
That worked them all 7 days a week, practiced for hours, over and over, saying we got to do it better every time. And that's what we need today. The parents going to have to teach their children that. You got to do more. You have to do it better. You have to put more time in what you're doing.
Well, that's at a time when men were men.
Exactly.
And they were hard. All of my uncles, 5 of them, ran away from home before they were 18 years old because my grandfather was hard. He said something to you one time. If he had to say something to you twice, you would be getting up. The second time he said something, you would find yourself on the floor, on the ground. They were hard. I watched him bring my grandmother to church, and he did bring her to church, but he sat in the truck and didn't even come into church. He just sat out there the whole time service was going on. And when the church sermon was over, she knew that she didn't hang around and lollygag and fraternize or fraternize with all of the people. She came straight back to that truck and he took her home. Now, that was a hard man.
And that's the way it's supposed to be, because those nephews, you and others, learned from that. And I bet those young cousins of yours left home early. I bet they learned from him, and I bet all of them were successful.
They were very, very
I
successful.
guarantee.
Very, very successful. We used to go up to Gary, Indiana. They all settled in Gary, Indiana. And we'd go up there on the summers. And, of course, they were working in the mills and painting and things that had entrepreneurs. But they were all very, very successful. But they came out of that kind of environment. Now, Doc, we're not saying that men of today need to emulate men of yesteryear. But we are saying that the discipline that is required to be successful is lacking today in our society.
Well, it is, and there is a specific reason why that discipline is lacking. The young men of today, sir, are not like the old men and the young men that were coming along during our time. I told you a few weeks ago, every household in my community had a man in that household. There were very few single women in my area, and the only few that were single were widowers, that the husbands got killed by the Klan or got killed in one of the wars. But everyone had somebody to look up to, and some man in the community would discipline the children. I know I got a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
I had to wait until I would leave my community to do what I wanted to do, because someone would turn me in, as we say, and my dad and mom would take care of me.
We'll take care of you.
I guarantee you.
Now, Doc, we're going to talk a little bit more about Tina, and we're going to talk about, we lost another great individual in Gussie Summers. And the Summers name is clearly one of those founding fathers of the things that demonstrate what blacks could achieve. I spent evenings in the Summers Hotel, and every Tina Turner, anybody else that was black, if they came into Mississippi, they had to have somewhere to stay. Summers Hotel was the only place they could stay.
Yeah, I remember that hotel very well when I attended Jackson State. Matter of fact, that family got rich with that hotel and other properties they had because we didn't have integration during that time. Black folks couldn't go to the Holiday Inn and other hotels in Jackson. They had to go to Sumner's or one of the other 3 hotels that were in Jackson, Mississippi. You know, we had 4 hotels in Jackson during that time, but his was very popular because he had entertainment. Had a little room back there where they would do entertainment.
The Subway Lounge downstairs.
Right. Exactly.
In the underground kind of. Exactly. It was featured on CNN, I believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was part of that chitlin circuit. And those black entertainers will come through Memphis, Jackson, and all go back to Chicago and other places, and that's the way they made their living. They would come down to Jackson. They had certain black families that they could stay with a night or two. They fed those guys and laid us good fried chicken, butter beans, and cornbread. And when they got on the stage, they didn't do an hour and a half like they do now. They would do 3 and 4 hours.
3 and 4 hours.
And some would play and dance and sing all night. And then when they finished dancing and singing, they would do a little drinking and go back to those places and rest until the next day.
Well, we're up against a station break. We're going to take a break now. We're going to come back and continue our discussion about the heroes that we've lost. So many. Tina Turner, Gussie Summers, Jim Brown, just to name a few. Just legendary people in our community that we are surely going to miss. And then we're going to talk about some things that are happening locally in the state of Mississippi in black politics. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. We Believe Digital Broadcasting Studio, a member of the We Believe Media family. The We Believe Media team consists of print, the Mississippi Link newspaper, 29 years of continuous print every week without missing one. Recognized as one of the better papers that is being produced in this entire country, be it black or white publications. We have the Mississippi Link on our team. We have Prime Storm Media with Drika Chiffon, one of the best filming producers in the country, doing a lot of work in Atlanta and all across this great country. Go to primestormmedia.com and look at the quality of our work. We have 16 Bar Studio with Kelvin Jones, 18 years of continuous recording. The studio is located right here in Jackson, Mississippi, and is a part of this team. All of your ideas, if you think you have a song and you want to get it recorded, we can do that right here at 16 Bars. We Believe broadcast station where you're watching us now. We're broadcasting live all over the world. 139 countries and growing. We're being seen from China to Italy to Belzoni, Mississippi. We Believe Broadcasting Studio right here on We Believe Media. We have the internet radio station, 24 hours of gospel music. Some of the best music you're ever going to hear. We can't allow our people to continue to give the recording and the royalties and everything that have gone traditionally to non-black institutions. We've got to start creating our own. We write the songs, we create the songs, and then we are an employee of someone else. We've seen Malaco Records come into Jackson, Mississippi, and have done an extremely good job, have produced some of the finest material of all times. But what material were they producing? Black-owned material. Dorothy Moore, for example, Misty Blue, produced right here in Jackson, Mississippi, but it wasn't produced by black people. Black people didn't have a media company like we do today. And so those are the things and the deficiencies that we have to correct. And so we believe is here for you. We have the relationship with 100.5 Smooth Radio. The owner, Carl Haynes, has been in this business for some 20 plus years. He knows this business as well as anybody else. He's also teamed with We Believe Media. So you see, there is no excuse. If you're not contacting We Believe Media at 800-492-5186 and taking advantage of these low rates to get your message out, to move your products along, you're missing a great opportunity. And to all of our candidates out there, both on the Republican slate and the Democratic slate, you are missing a great opportunity if you're not utilizing this medium. There are tough races out there that we're watching. We're watching the tough races in the Republican primaries. And Dr. Henderson and I have had some discussions about how blacks ought to interact in these Republican primaries, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But that lieutenant governor's race between Chris McDaniels and David Holzman is one to watch. It's going to be a tough race. And We Believe Media will probably make the difference in that race. The governor's race between Tate Reeves and Brandon Presley is one to watch. We see Stacey Adams over in Atlanta saying that the Mississippi governor's race is one that they're very interested in because they think for the first time in history that not in history, Mississippi had Democratic governors up until the late 70s, but we haven't had one since that time. And Mississippi is a deep red state. But the national media says that the Democratic candidate, Brandon Presley, has a chance to unseat the incumbent, Tate Reeves. We're going to see what role does blacks play in that and what role should they play in that development. Now, on the local side, I'm happy to announce that a good friend of mine, Bob Hickenbottom, has been put back on the ballot as a candidate for governor of the state of Mississippi. That's right. Robert Hickenbottom was announced his candidacy for the Democratic primary for the governor's race, and the Democratic Party disallowed his candidacy. They took him off the ballot. Well, he went to court today, and today the court put him back on the ballot. Congratulations, Bob Hickenbottom, for following your dreams, going after whatever you think it is that God has given you the right to go after. If you think that you want to be a Republican governor, a Democratic black governor in the state of Mississippi, my prayers and my support go with you in that challenge. No different than when Charles Evers opened that doors back in the late 70s, 79 or so. And so we have a lot of things going on here. There are a lot of contested races that are going on. And we're going to have to make a decision because we are 40% of the population. Now, if we're 40% of the population, that means that basically we can control any race that there is out there. No, we cannot elect a black person to a statewide office in Mississippi. No, we cannot. Barack Obama could not carry the state of Mississippi, and he was the most popular African American since Martin Luther King, and he couldn't carry Mississippi. But we're 40% of the population, so there are some things that we can do. out here to make a difference. Now, I want to send a special congratulations to another good friend of mine that has decided to put his name in the ring. He is running for the Senate, the Mississippi Senate. Pastor Dwayne Pickett has announced his candidacy for the Senate. He is running against the incumbent David Blunt. Now, Pastor Pickett is well known in this community. He resides in that district. He has spent his life working to try to make things better, focusing primarily on the young folk. One of the things I noticed when I attended New Jerusalem Church is that their congregation is young. It's much younger than most congregations. It means that there is something about Dr. Pickett that is drawing young African Americans. In most churches today, the population in the community is older and aging, and very few children. And so we congratulate Dwayne Pickett on his attempt to take the seat away from Senator Blunt in a district that is predominantly African American. And if African Americans can't elect themselves to govern themselves, then it further indicates that we need a new strategy. And so we're going to talk about that new strategy now. My co-hosts and I have been talking about the role. Now, if we cannot elect, we do not have a candidate in the governor's race other than Bob Hickenbottom, which is back on the ballot. But the two front runners, Tate Reeves and Brandon Presley, are out here for us to choose between. How should the African American community make this decision?
Well, it's very clear with the numbers you mentioned being about 40 to 45% of the population in Mississippi. Black people can almost control many positions in this state, and this is what they can do. If any district where black people are in the majority, they can elect over 75% of the candidates regardless of party if they will switch their voting habits from the Democrats and select one of those moderate Republicans, black or white, but they must go to him or her with an agenda, with a list of demands and say, I have your platform, this is our platform, we have raised $200,000 and we'll support you if you pick 3 of our 5 platform issues. We'll support you. And if you have a position to assign someone to commissions and agencies in the state once you get your position, we know how many you have. You would have 6 positions that you can appoint someone on. We want 3 of them. You do that, sign this document, and we'll support you. And he will win. Because some of the Republicans in the district are going to hear about it, so they're going to abandon him. But others that are quiet racists that say this is an opportunity for me to come out and be a real human being so I won't feel bad about myself. We're going to support this man, and they're going to take a chance on doing what they've been wanting to do for several hundred years. All white people are not racist in Mississippi, in America, and in the world. But many of them, including the white preachers, are afraid. Housewives are afraid, and many of the young people are afraid to say anything other than be very conservative because of the upbringing they have had from birth up until the present.
Well, let's be clear. The strategy that has been proposed says that in a district where you are the majority, you ought to elect one of your own. Now, we got to tighten that up a bit. We're going to have to elect one of our own that believes in the kinds of things that will move our community forward. No self-interest. no self-aggrandizement, no work on your own behalf, but following the playbook that was given to you by the community. If you can't do that, then you ought not offer yourself up for office. So in the communities where we can elect our own, we ought to do that. And we ought to vote to accomplish that. So in the 2nd Congressional District, for example, it is the only congressional district that blacks have the ability to select an individual for that office. Other than Congressman Benny Thompson, we do not have the ability to elect anyone else.
Well, believe it or not, we have the ability if we would organize and make an effort to get away from the Democrat Party up to 95%. In the Delta, 95% of the blacks vote for the Democrats. And the Democrats have not done anything significant for blacks in the Delta other than bring casinos, lottery tickets, and other time-consuming, money-grabbing entities to keep the black folks poor. They have not decided to bring in industries. They have not decided to bring in what we call vocational and technical training that's short-term so that young people in the Delta region can get certifications to do things. We know that most of the young people in the Delta are not going to finish a 2 or 4 or 6 year college program. Many just not able to get into a community college and stay there 2 years and be successful academically because they didn't teach them well in the school system. So when they move into these junior colleges with 15 and 16 on the ACT, which is the American College Test, many of them just barely have a C average. It's very difficult to compete and get a job at a community college after you finish a 2-year program. But if they could get a certification through some independent government-sponsored programs that the local industries contributed to, you will be surprised how that country, that area, would move economically, because a lot of those black young people that already have families there, that have strong love interests there, will remain in the Delta, start buying and building their own homes, and instead of leaving, going to Jackson and Memphis and other places, you'll see a resurgence of economic activity there, education, and other opportunity. And when you see that, you're going to have a new community. But they have to start working on that through Congressman Benny Thompson, community organizations, and get programs and opportunities to shift the thinking versus being dependent on gambling and working in someone's house, working in a fast food place, or just sitting out every day not working and not able to even get in a car to go and get your food stamps. That's the real story of the Delta for over 75% of the people that live there.
Well, let's take a district like on the Gulf Coast, the Mississippi Gulf Coast. There is no black candidate down there that's going to be running. So the 2nd Congressional District is the only one that's going to put up a black candidate. So the other 5 districts will not have black representation. So there is really no Democratic candidate that can win in those other districts. So you're saying that blacks in those 5 districts ought to vote in the Republican Party.
That's right, up to about 25%. If they can find a moderate white or black Republican to vote for, they need to do it. We have been following the Democrats for years in America, and especially in the South, since the blacks left the Republican Party some time ago. And the black and white Democrats have done nothing specifically for the average black person. Now, they have done something for the Black Lives Matter group, the LGBT community, but the basic, hard-working family black man has not gotten anything from the Democratic Party but food stamps, TANF programs, And then here recently, they took that away from them. They now can't even attend community colleges and expect to get out in 2 years. They can't meet the competition academically. I don't even like to say that, but it's a fact. I've worked in those systems for years. A lot of blacks enroll in these programs at these community colleges in Mississippi and other southern states, but very few finish. And the few that will finish usually do it in 2.5 to 4 years, and I'm talking about at a community college. Most get in, get them a good, strong loan for a year or two, and drop out, or flunk out. Now this is a fact. I've seen it happen for 17 years.
We're going to have to change strategies.
Exactly.
We're going to have to change strategies. We're up against a break now, and so we're going to come back with the very last segment of tonight's program, and we're going to talk about Governor DeSantis down in Florida and the cry from the NAACP that says that blacks ought not travel to the state of Florida. I hadn't heard anything like that when we were saying that blacks ought not travel into Korea or over into Syria or places of that nature. But to have someone say that blacks ought not travel into the United States of America in a major city is quite alarming. We're going to discuss that when we come back. You stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South. We're broadcasting from an African-American owned and operated broadcasting studio. We're part of the We Believe media family that consists of recording studios, film production, print newspaper, broadcast, internet radio, terrestrial radio, and more. We are a family that is growing and being recognized as one of the premier media companies in the Southeast. But we need your help. If you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share this program with your friends and family and send us stars. If you're watching us on YouTube, We Believe Digital Podcast on YouTube, then we want you to subscribe. We need to get our subscribers up there. If you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, our very own network. When you go to WeBelieveDigital.com, it's a little different than most platforms, and it's certainly not a website. It is a platform. It is a network. And so when you go there, you have topics and categories that you can choose to look at. And under those categories, you will find some of the most important dialogues and conversations that have been taking place in years. For example, under inspiration as a category, you will find Bishop Ronnie Crudup bringing you the message each and every Sunday on his Wednesday nights program, a house right there under inspiration on that category and on his very own channel. Now, you two ministers can have your very own channel on We Believe Digital platform. New Jerusalem can have its channel. New Hope can have its channel. Caney Creek can have its channel. And what that means is that all of you can be broadcasting live on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Now, you can't get on a terrestrial station at 8 o'clock. Only one person can go at a time. It's like going out the small end of the horn, one at a time. But over here at We Believe Digital, we're like the bell of the horn. We can bring multiple shows to you at 8 o'clock. So every minister is out there, listen up. We want you to be a part of this family. We want you to have your own channel. We want to help you get your message out all across the world. Many of you are feeding your programs to Facebook and Instagrams and platforms like that. But if you will team with We Believe Digital, not only will we get the word out, we're going to build the kind of a network that will bring revenue back to your congregation. There will be revenue sharing from the great work that we're all doing coming back into black churches and congregations. Now, if you're small out there in the rural area and you don't have a media department, many people now are able to get good quality content simply from an iPhone or another brand. I'm not promoting iPhones and Apple, but the quality now on your cell phones has gotten to a point where it's acceptable in most cases to bring into this platform. And if you need further help than that, we'll come out and assist you in building a media team. And you can waste so much money and time by trial and error. We've already done that. So we can tell you exactly where your cameras need to be positioned. We can tell you exactly when your program needs to start. And we will edit that program for you. If you got a 2-hour service, then we'll help you edit that down to less than 1 hour. You know, I'm learning and finding out the hard way that the extension span of the younger generation is not nearly what it was when we were young. They'll give you 3 to 5 minutes to make a point. And that's why it's so popular over on TikTok and IG, Instagram, and Facebook, because they put these clips out there, and they get the sizzle, and they don't really get the message, because you're not pushing them back to a network that your channel exists in, that your message will be housed in for eternity. So utilize We Believe Digital in our church communities. We want to help you grow and build your salvation team and help move it throughout this entire country. We can do that here at We Believe Digital. All we need you to do is believe in us and call 800-492-5186, and let's get you on the air right here at We Believe Digital. Now, the unique thing about that is after this podcast and this broadcast studio completes airing tonight, the audio from this program will be played next week on the internet radio station all over the world. So you get what we're doing. You can see the vision. We made it plain. You see it. We need you now to support in every way that you can. We'll come out and film your events. We have studio time and we have mobility. There are things that we can do to support your ministry. Now, Dr. Henderson,
Yes, sir.
we're saying that things have got to change. Now, change is painful.
Very painful.
A lot of families fall out with one another over the things that we're talking about.
Every day, sir. Every day.
Black folk that only Charles Evans I know that could vote in the Republican primary and say he was a Republican and still have endearment from the African American community. How was he able to do that? And can modern day young folk do the same?
Most certainly they can. Charles Evans was a man that always was a planner. He looked 5, 10, and 15 years ahead, even when he was a young man. I read a story a long time ago about he and his brother was in his little area. They saw some serious racial problems there, and they decided at that time that they were going to do something about it. And of course, being young guys in a hellhole of racism, they had to go to the military, and when they came back, they made a pledge among themselves again that we're going to work on this racism in our county, in our city, and in our state. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, can a young man of today do that?
They could do more because they have more opportunities. They won't have as many Ku Klux Klanners looking at them to catch them and hang them and not be put in jail. Back in those times when Charles Evans and his brothers were coming and the other blacks, they could be killed in the daytime and could be seen by the police, and many times the local sheriffs and others would be with the Klan and send those guys out there. After they arrest somebody and turn them loose, they get on the phone and say, oh, John Doe is coming down Highway 18 in a 62 Cadillac. Take care of him.
Take care of him.
And that's what happens. And of course, it's a little more modern now. And people are being dealt with, a lot of black people and others that go against the status quo are being killed throughout America because of positions they have taken or failed to take because they've been approached by certain people in power to do certain things. Some will do it because of money. Some will not do it because of character.
Now, money is a evil thing in the African American community. It is a very tremendous asset in the white community, but in the African American community, we always refer to money as being evil.
Well, that's true. That's because they've been taught that. Now, I was taught that too. But the evil that I see is mighty evil if you don't have any money. So I was taught that same propaganda. Now, that was taught to black people during the colonial period when they were so-called slaves. Those white boys wanted black folks to don't even worry about money because they know they were not going to give them any. And they told them, and I would do the same thing if I had some slaves. I said, don't worry about anything. I might not be treating you right, but I love you. You belong to me. I'm already giving you a guaranteed job. I'm feeding you. I'm giving you a free house. You're not lazy. I'm giving you all the work you want. You can do 8 to 16 hours a day, and I give you Sunday off. So what are you worried about? You're going to get your reward, anything else that I'm not going to give you when you go to heaven. You don't need any money. And they fell for that.
And they're still being taught.
Of course.
Now, let's move quickly. We're running out of time. Now, Tim Scott is running for president of the United States of America. He's an African-American Republican candidate, running in a tight triangle over there with Trump and DeSantis. And the NAACP just sent out a statement that says that blacks should not travel to Florida because of the racist position that Governor DeSantis has embarked upon. What do you think about that?
I think that is not a good idea. Now, if you're going to start running it away from racists and supporters of racists without demanding that they do certain things to make you a human being again and let you serve your country with your constitutional rights, the president and CEO of the NAACP ought to get with a team of 5, 7 or so of his executives, call all of these major racist governors, north, south, and east, in America and go and talk to them in a formal manner with their list of demands and say, this is what we are depending and expecting you to do. You have blank number of blacks in this area, and if you don't do them, we're going to have a national press conference exposing you and your refusals, and we're going to sue you at the same time. But the NAACP and other black leaders get together, put a list of commands together, or grievances, or anything you want that's constitutional based, that's going to say that black people have certain rights, and make it constitutional reference, and go and talk to these folks. You got to go and talk to the enemy. You got to face them. The Bible has a lot of examples of that, where the weakest man, in many instances, will face the strong king or the giant or whatever, and will win, but he never won unless he went and challenged that person. You'll be surprised. Everyone that's a racist in America is not a racist because they want to be a racist. They are racist because they know that will help them get what they want politically and economically. So you have to be a racist during the daytime and do like a lot of the senators and representatives and others in the South, be pro-black at night. So that is what's happening in America and the world, and especially in the South.
And so, are you saying that blacks ought to go to Florida more now than ever before?
They ought to go to Florida 10 times more than they have done in the past. You don't ever let a person tell you where you can't go when you're a citizen of a country, of a city, or a town. You ought to double your participation.
Well, so let me read the quote from Derek Johnson. He says, under the leadership of Governor DeSantis, the state of Florida has become hostile to black Americans and in direct conflict with the democratic ideas that our union was founded upon. Now, it kind of lost me because I don't know what democratic ideas our union was founded upon.
Well, it's definitely not in the Constitution. They were not founded up any democratic ideas in the Constitution. The Constitution states that the Constitution was set up for white men with property and excluded everybody else. That was the 1787 Constitution. And then they passed another one, I believe, in 1865 in most southern states, and it was worse than the national Constitution at the time, because they said, even though we have lost a war, we've been paid for our land and paid for our slaves, and we are going to get them back because we are not going to vote with the national agenda. And they had a compromise, and the president that was elected told them, we're going to turn our soldiers away from your area. We're going to get the Union soldiers back up here in the north, and you senators and representatives do whatever you want. You can have your Negroes back. Even though we done paid you for them, you can get your plantations back. And many of those rednecks then said, and the old plantation owners that were about to go broke, many of them were broke, got their plantations back and told those black folks a few months before that time, you all are free and you can leave. And I told you 3 weeks ago, a lot of the black folks didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But they left. And in 2 and 3 days, they were back.
They came back.
Because they left with those no's that I mentioned. No land, no money, no tools. They didn't even give them an ox to pull their wagons. They had to pull it themselves or put everything they had in a bag and walk away with it on their backs, including their babies. And they couldn't make it long out in the forest, because when they go down the street to the next plantation, he pushed them on, because they hadn't devised that Jim Crow system of plantations. But in just a few months, they had them locked, stock and barrel, in quasi-slavery again, up until the 1960s. And the reason I'm saying this, I was a victim of that for 17 years. I'm not going into it, but I was on that plantation for 17 years during my lifetime. Worked 17 years, made no profit whatsoever. Every year, we were deeper in debt. And the plantation owners, they come back and get what you want. Do you need a little for Easter? Do you need a little more money for Christmas? Do you need a new pair of pants to wear to school, even though we would go about 3 months a year? Yes, sir. We need $50. The mule died. We sure would like to have a milk cow. He said, no, you can't have a milk cow now. Mary Jones got one, but you can't have one. My daddy would say, we sure need our old house fixed. No, you can't fix that house. We can't fix it. You do what you can on it. So they would call my grandfather. He was the plantation carpenter. He knew nothing about carpentry, but he could put things together. He could read a rule, and he had a little balance thing. What's that little balance thing you use to see if something level?
The level, yeah.
That's right. And he would just go and say, how big do you want your room? I want one 8 by 10. And he'd just start throwing something together. And he might not even touch the part of the house they was building on, but he was a plantation carpenter. He dug the wells, and he'd build the chimneys. And he was the only black man I knew of at that time that worked as an independent businessman. He didn't get paid by the day. He got paid by the job.
Wow. You can build a room on a house and then not touch the other house?
That's right. He didn't know anything about architecture. He just knew from trial and error, you build a room right by the house, and if it doesn't touch, you get a 2x4 somewhere else and block that area and make it look like it's touched. And then paint.
Doc, we're going to continue to bring this kind of information to our viewers all over the world. It's critically important. You find me laughing and smiling sometimes when Doc is speaking, and because it just resonates, because I know and I have lived through what he's saying, and we've come so far with so little that now, I used to have a saying that I kept on my door when I was a sales manager for Xerox. It said, we the unwilling, led by the incompetent, have been doing so much for so long with so little that now we attempt the impossible with absolutely nothing. And I find that that's where we are here with African Americans. We are now up against what seems to be impossible, and we are unwilling. And so we're going to have to come up with a strategy. It's not going to be the strategy that traditional Democrats would put forth, like the president of the NAACP in his cry for blacks to avoid the state of Florida. That's not going to be our strategy. It's not a winning strategy. The winning strategy consists of blacks capitalizing on their influence wherever they might have it. For example, think about it. Just think about it. If Biden and Harris are going to be the Democratic nominees for the President of the United States, then black folk, they don't need our help. But over in the Republican Party, we got a little something going on over here with Tim Scott and DeSantis and Donald Trump. So what if black folks decided who the Republican nomination was going to be? What if the population and the leadership says we need to determine the outcome in the Republican primary? What would happen? Would we get Trump, DeSantis, or Scott? Who would we want? Would we want Scott, DeSantis, or Trump? Would we want them based upon the fact that we want a weak candidate, that the Democratic candidate will have a fewer problems with defeating? Or would we want him because we want a different style of leadership in the White House? These are hard questions. These are questions for serious-minded people. Dr. Henderson and I are doing our level best to engage critical thinking inside of our community. We do that each and every week. Doc, tell the people how they can get in contact with you and how they can reach your media group.
Okay, it's very simple, and thank you for this opportunity again. Folks, if you want to talk to me or our media team, all you have to do is email us at clu369@gmail.com, or you can call us at 601-201-1957. You can call us anytime. We're prepared to come and meet with you. We can do Zoom meetings with you. We do a series of workshops and seminars on economic development, politics, and other issues. And we will travel. All you have to do is call us and say what you need, how many people you might have at your convention or at your workshop or seminar, and we'll come and help you move forward and tell you how to change your life, your status, and your community in 30, 60, or 90 days, guaranteed.
That's it for tonight's program. We'll be back next week and continue this dialogue and these kinds of conversations designed specifically to make you think. If we can start the African American community doing critical thinking, change will come. Until next week,